what I say is the Instagram bio is not about you. It's about your ideal client. So rather than saying, I'm a dog mom or I do this and that, you want to say how you can help your ideal client.
Hi, I'm Melissa.
And I'm Julie. We're lifelong friends and entrepreneurs who have spent the past 15 years building successful businesses. Yep, we've done the scary stuff in business and in life.
We created this podcast to empower and inspire women to be bold and courageous in their personal and professional journeys. Each week, we explore stories, insights, and practical tips to help you harness your knowledge and experiences to create and grow your business or improve your life. If you're ready to take action, or even if you're just dreaming about building the life you deserve, you've come to the right place.
Get ready to step out of your comfort zone as we celebrate bravery, share inspiring interviews, and offer the guidance you need to blossom into your fullest potential. Okay, friends, let's be brave together. This is the Brave Looks Good on You podcast.
Hey y'all, this is Melissa.
And I'm Julie. And today we are talking with Erin Hoy, who is the owner and founder of 5 to 9 Socials. And she is passionate about empowering women to confidently shine and boost their income through Instagram. So y'all, she has a lot of great information and she's going to teach you some things for sure. She has extensive marketing and business development experience, including running a product-based business in her early 20s. Erin replaces the guesswork on Instagram with data-driven strategies. And her expert advice helps amplify her clients' reach, engagement, and income on Instagram.
We can't wait for you to hear this conversation. It's great. You're going to have lots of takeaways. So let's get started.
All right, here we go.
Welcome, Erin. We are so glad to get the chance to talk with you today.
Hi, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me come on the podcast.
Yes, we're really excited about this one. We've been waiting for a while to have you on. So we just want to dive right into talking about Instagram. It's such a big part of many of us that have businesses. And so I know you're really passionate about this platform and helping women grow thriving businesses using Instagram. But I know that figuring out how to do that properly can be a challenge or maybe even intimidating for some people. So we're excited to talk to you about that.
Yeah, I totally understand where it can feel intimidating. There are so many different, tools on Instagram. There's so many different people saying you need to do it this way, you need to do it that way. But I'm here to tell you that it's not scary, right? Instagram was truly born to be a place of connection and community. And so as long as you are doing that and you are nurturing your current audience, really, you're going to go a long way. And so it's not scary. It's not about these silly tactics about, hacking the algorithm or anything like that. It's truly about building a community on Instagram.
Thank you for setting us straight on that.
Yes, definitely.
So
Absolutely.
for the rest of our conversation here, we're going to keep reminding everyone that Instagram is not scary. We can do this and we can win with Instagram for sure. So I want to hear about your experience with Instagram. Like, how did you get so smart on Instagram and learn how to make it work for you and how to teach other people to make it work for them as well?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a long road, actually. So I started a hair accessory company in 2021. So mid-pandemic, I was a junior in college studying to become a speech language hearing scientist. And I thought that's what I really wanted to do. And then I started this business and was promoting it on Instagram and learning the ways that were really helpful for promoting a business on this platform. And I just fell in love with it. And so my senior year of college, I just finished up my degree, but I did not end up going into speech therapy, of course. And my fiance and I, we moved to Texas, and I had found a job as a social and digital media coordinator for an engineering firm. And I ran all their socials, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram. But Instagram has always just kind of been a special platform for me. It's always been my favorite. I've just seen so many people grow, including myself. And so after I started 5 to 9, I knew that I wanted to really, really focus and specialize on Instagram because it is so popular and it's my favorite. And so then I opened up 5 to 9 Socials, specializing in Instagram and helping female entrepreneurs grow authentically on the app.
That's awesome. And I mean, mad props to you for in college starting a business like that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I mean, I was sewing in my sewing room, in my parents' downstairs till like 2 in the morning some days, but we made it
Wow.
work, and I'm so thankful that I had the energy and the tenacity to do that back then because I wouldn't be here without that experience.
Yeah, and I love too how you probably an effort to make money, help yourself through college. You did that, but then realized, hey, I actually really love this, maybe more so than what I thought I wanted to do. We always love the idea of reinvention and thinking through that. So I love that you stumbled on Instagram and figured out you had a passion for it. Maybe not sewing till 2 in the morning wasn't the passion you ended up with, but you learned that you were really good at Instagram. And fascinating that you were working at an engineering firm doing social media. That's really a cool move into what you're doing now. So I can't wait for us to learn more about that, the specifics of that. But so let's switch gears just a little bit because I know because you are well versed in Instagram and know so much, you probably see a lot of mistakes or things people do that you think, you might even cringe or think they shouldn't be doing that. So, what are the most common mistakes you see people doing or making on Instagram?
I would say the number one mistake is not using the display name correctly. So, your display name is the bold section right underneath your profile picture. And it's really ironic because it's called display name, but you actually don't want to put your business name in there. You want to put keywords that represent your business because it is used as a search function. It's kind of like on Google when you look up, let's say, restaurants in San Antonio are going to show up. And so that is pretty much the same thing with the Instagram display name. When you use keywords in there, you're more likely to be found by other accounts. And so
Okay.
it's a totally understandable mistake, right? But
Yeah.
I recommend, keeping that really, really niche specific to those keywords. And you could even add your first name. I like to do that just to keep it a little personable, but I want to make sure that people can find me. So I say, San Antonio Instagram manager or something like that.
Okay.
Thank you so much for educating us on this. I had no idea that that was what we were supposed to be doing until I saw you talking about this on your own Instagram a couple of weeks ago. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to get on this.
I say,
It's
did we check
crazy,
ours,
right?
Julie?
Yeah, I had no idea that it wasn't supposed to just be your name. And it makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense that we should put those keywords about what it is we're doing and who we're serving. So, Melissa, we're going to get on that.
Okay. Put it on our list today. This week.
Okay. And now I'm excited to talk about your top 5 Instagram tips for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay.
I love this. So number one is kind of a myth buster, and that is consistency on Instagram, right? Like what really is consistency? And a lot of people think that means posting every single day or multiple times a day, when really consistency is what you make of it. And so
Mm.
that's looking at your schedule and deciding what's going to work best for you. And I tell my clients that even if you can only post one time a week, that is totally fine because you want to make sure that that one post, of course, is good and it's good quality content. But I would much rather you only post, one day a week and have that post be really good rather than posting 7 times a week and getting completely burnt out and never wanting to be on Instagram again. So that's my
Yeah,
number one tip.
that's a good one.
Yeah, I love
Mhm.
that consistency can be just whatever you decide is consistent for you. It doesn't mean killing yourself every day on Instagram. So that's a
Yeah.
huge relief.
Yeah. And I tell my audience and I tell my clients that if your mental health is suffering, then your business is going to suffer and your Instagram's going to suffer too.
Mhm.
So there's no point in posting an ungodly amount of times when you know that that's going to end up burning you out.
Right.
The next Instagram tip I have, and really just business tip in general, is to really identify your ideal client. Now, this isn't saying, oh, yeah, my ideal client is female and she's a service provider. Like, I really, really push my clients into getting into the nitty gritty. And that is, what's her age? What's her marital status? How many children does she have? What type of podcast does she listen to on the way to work? Because when you're really able to dig in and understand what this person needs and wants from you, then you're able to create content that is really going to resonate with them.
That is so true. And I do think we generalize this, or Julie and I say this a lot, but like when you're trying to speak to everyone, you're speaking to no one. That whole thing is so true because until you really know who that is, it's really hard to, I feel like, fine tune your message and your style and your branding and all that. So that's super important step. I think a lot of people forget to do.
And I think a lot of people get nervous too because they think that if they niche down a ton with their ideal client, then, they're not going to have enough clients. And I see
Right.
the exact same thing. When you're speaking to everyone, you're really speaking to no one because the words you're saying are maybe going to kind of resonate
Right.
with your audience,
Yeah.
but that's not the point. The point is that we really, really want to hit home on that specific ideal client.
Okay, so let's shift out of that and go to the next one, Erin.
Yeah. So, speaking of ideal client, we want to make sure that we're putting our ideal client front and center in our Instagram bio. Now, this is something that I see a lot of people getting wrong. And again, I think it's just because it's open space. We panic a little bit and we just want to get something in there. So, 100% understand. But what I say is the Instagram bio is not about you, it's about your ideal client. So, rather than saying, I'm a dog mom or I do this and that. You want to say how you can help your ideal client. And I do that with my little special formula, which is for specific client wanting desired result of service. And so for me, for example, my ideal client is fearless female entrepreneurs wanting to show up authentically on Instagram. Now, of course, Instagram is not a one size fits all narrative. And so you can mix and match this a little bit. But just to start, I recommend having that little formula, which you can get in my Instagram roadmap, and starting with that and then being able to mix it around. So at the end of the day, your Instagram bio is not about you. It's about how you can help your ideal client so that when they come onto your profile, they know exactly what they're getting out from you. And that's
Mm,
why they want to continue to follow you.
I love
that's
that
really
formula.
good.
That's so helpful. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a nice, just easy way to plug everything in, do a little Mad Lib situation. And I always recommend too switching it around every quarter. I switch around that formula and my display name about once a quarter. And that helps you also get some new Instagram followers because it's a different wording and it's pushed
Mhm.
out to new people.
Yeah. Okay, so as a sidebar to this, do you think when people are scrolling Instagram and they see some stories or maybe they're even seeing somebody on their grid for the first time that Instagram is feeding them, do you think people go to their bio to see who they are and what their account is all about before they decide to give them a follow?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
A lot of times, if someone posts a funny reel, they'll get a ton of follows because the reel resonates. I've done this on TikTok all the time. I see a funny one and I just follow and move on. But the
Hmm.
people that are actually going to purchase from you are the ones that are looking at your bio and saying, okay, can this person actually help me
Okay. Yeah.
with what I need? And so that's why I always recommend having it very specific in your bio and no catchphrases, not too many emojis, things like that. Just be
Okay.
very straight to the point.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right. What's next?
All right. So, number 4 is Instagram is really an extension of your business. And this is kind of how I treat it with all of my clients, whether I'm coaching them or I'm doing Instagram management, because Instagram is where you're showing your audience what you do for them. And so, this is not a place where you want to mix up brand colors and brand fonts and things like that. Like, you want it to be cohesive. And that is because when someone is scrolling, we get so much stimulation all day long. We get
Hmm.
posts all day long. But the goal is that when they're scrolling and your post shows up, they go, oh, that's Erin's post.
I know them. Yeah.
Exactly. Whether that is the colors, the fonts, the wording, or a combination, which would be probably the best, we want it to stop their scroll.
That is super important. And I think it also just helps you with content creation. Like when you have a direction like that, I think it just makes that a little easier to
Yeah,
create things. That's a great
absolutely.
tip.
I went on a little solo retreat and I really, dove deep into my mission and vision and values of my business. And I'm able to really represent that on Instagram so much better because that has been established in my business in the back end portion of it. And so
Mhm.
really Instagram is an extension of your business.
Yeah. And really should dictate the way we're showing up, whatever that looks like. That's great. Okay. So that brings us to number 5 of your top Instagram tips. So what's this one?
All right. So this one kind of isn't even really about Instagram, but having some sort of freebie or lead magnet to get people on your email list. And Instagram is a great place to do that. So I'm an Instagram manager, social media manager, and I can even say that anything you post on social media, you do not own. So I always ask my clients if Instagram or social media were to disappear tomorrow, would your business still be okay? Oftentimes the answer is no, because we do rely on social media. I mean, I, of course, love Instagram, but we want to use Instagram as a place and a funnel to get people into the places that we own. And that is our email lists, that is our websites. And so using links and funnels and freebies to get them over to these places that you own so that your business is protected. Plus, email lists are fabulous for conversion rates and things like that.
That is so important. And that's a focus Julie and I are doing in our business to really try to grow that connection that's not just social media dependent. So that's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you. Those were extremely helpful. So good for us all to think about and consider and keep top of mind as we're creating content. Okay. So we cannot talk about Instagram without mentioning analytics, which I'm not a numbers girl. So I never really liked the word analytics, but I know it's important. And I know that we do get that information from Instagram. And so it's super important for us to lean into that and just try to figure it out. But I know also you don't want to get just totally wrapped up and swamped by that as well. So can you talk to us about just the important numbers we need to be looking at, how to know what's working, and also throw in there some ideas about trends you're seeing from looking at analytics, just all the things. We'd love to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Melissa, I was not a numbers girly either until I started doing marketing and Instagram management because the numbers really do matter. But I want to say number one is to find your analytics on Instagram. Actually, number one is you can go to your professional dashboard that will be below your bio. You're the only one that's able to see that once you're logged in. And this is a super nice overview of how your content is doing and how it's resonating with your audience. This is a great starting point. I use another analytics software slash scheduling software called CoSchedule. And that has been super helpful for me. It gives me a nice overview of how my analytics are doing. But to get started, Instagram is perfect. They give you a lot of analytics. Now, as what you should be looking for are two things, which is reach and engagement. Now, engagement refers to how actively your audience interacts with your content. That is
Okay.
likes, saves, comments. Whereas reach refers to the total number of unique users and accounts who have seen your content. And both of these are very important to see if your content is being shown to people that don't follow you.
Mhm.
And for the people that do follow you, are they interested in it? Are
Yeah.
they engaging with it? Another thing with that, though, is to not get too granular in the analytics because sometimes there is a blip and your engagement can go down for truly no reason. Like you've done everything the same, you've done everything quote unquote perfect, but your engagement is down.
Mhm.
And so I tell my clients when I'm giving them their analytic reports for the month is to look at it as a whole. Do we see as a whole our engagement and reach is going up? If the answer is yes, we are good. I'm not going to focus too nitty gritty on the specific days where we saw a lower point in engagement or reach. Really, I just like to look at it holistically. And that's what I
Mhm.
recommend my audience does as well.
Those are good tips because I feel like too, you could have a sort of a one-off thing that just goes viral or does huge.
Yep.
And then you really think you did really good on another one. And then you're like, wait a minute. And so I know time of day, like just figuring all those things out are so important. Like what's working best with your audience, like you said, the people that you want to react and engage. So that's really good advice.
Yeah, and Instagram will tell you all of that when your audience is online, what days they're mostly online. And so you can kind of pivot your schedule and work with them. However, I also tell my audience and my clients that don't get too hung up on that either, because my belief is if it is good content, it is going to do well despite the time of day that you are posting. I say if 10 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays work for you and you know that you're going to be able to get those posts out and respond to comments afterwards, I say post it then and don't worry about it. Your audience will see it if it is good content and if you spent the time to have it resonate with that specific ideal client.
Right.
I like what you said too about when you know you can post it and then be present with the post. That whole don't post and ghost. I think that's easy, especially when you're using scheduling tools to sometimes forget, hey, that's going out tomorrow at 10. So that's a good reminder. And I have just a random question. You mentioned the platform that you schedule on and
Mhm.
use. So you use that over MetaSuite to schedule things. You're using that instead?
Yes, I'm using CoSchedule instead of MetaSuite. Honestly, even as a social media manager, Meta Business Suite is kind of confusing. And I
Yeah.
can't even imagine, saying to use that to people that maybe aren't super familiar with Instagram because
Mhm.
there's just a lot of buttons, there's a lot going on. Whereas CoSchedule is also a project management tool. I really should get paid for how much I talk about CoSchedule, but I'm not, unfortunately. But is a great tool to put tasks on your calendar. You can schedule out posts, kind of can schedule out story posts. They're not the best with that, but
Mhm.
overall, it's been my preferred platform. And you
Okay.
see the analytics as a whole, and you get to see kind of like a graph of your engagement and reach rather than have it only be a tiny granular section of time like
Mhm.
on Instagram.
Okay. Well, we need to link that in the show notes and check
Yeah.
that out, really. That sounds pretty good.
For sure. Okay, so let's move on to the services that you offer, Erin. I know that you do Instagram consultations and management. So you talk a little bit more about that and how people can find you and hire you and see some of the examples of your work.
Yeah, absolutely. So everything is on my website, which is 5 to 9 socials.com. The 5 and 9 are numbers. And so with my services, it starts all the way from coaching to Instagram management. So kind of the first tier with me is Instagram consultation. That's when we sit down for 90 minutes together and we really dig deep into your Instagram and how we can connect it with your business goals. That is, truly top to bottom. We look at your Instagram handle all the way down to the hashtags that you are using, and we really create a ideal client avatar so
Mhm.
that we can really think of that person when we're creating content. And with that, you also get 2 weeks of personalized support with me via an app called Voxer. And so something that's super important in my business is I don't just throw a bunch of information at you and run away. I'm really your coach and your continued cheerleader. So that's
That's
kind
great.
of like my number one service. People love it. And then next is my content day. And so let's say you do have a relatively good strategy, you feel good about your mission and vision and values and your ideal client, but making content and getting B roll for your Instagram is just really stressing you out.
Mhm.
And so with content day, I go to your place of business, or if you don't have, a brick and mortar shop, we can do an office space, a park, a coffee shop
Yeah.
even. And I help you get 15 B-roll videos, which is kind of like behind the scenes of you typing on your computer, you creating your products, and then 3 done for you reels. So I edit, put the captions on the reels and create a caption and hashtags for you as well. So that's kind of that middle service there. But if you're looking for an Instagram manager, just kind of take it over. You want to, take your hands off of it. My Instagram management is perfect for you. And so this is when I take the reins of your Instagram and deeply ingrain your business values and your goals into your Instagram and create posts that are really going to align with your ideal client. My goal for my Instagram management is that when I come and start managing your Instagram, your audience has no idea. That's how well I emulate your brand voice
Mhm.
and you on Instagram. My goal is that people don't even know that you hired someone
Yeah.
because it sounds so much like you.
That's kind of fun too. I mean, I know it's work, but I'm just thinking you get to kind of dip your hand into all kinds of different businesses doing that and get to kind of put on a different hat as you
It's
work
been a
with those.
blast.
Yeah, I bet that is fun. And I'm in awe of it because Instagram has been the thing I feel like when I started my business, Facebook was it, and it
Right.
was very different than it is now. That was 15 years ago. And I just think I feel like I cut my teeth. Julie and I've said that before on Facebook. And then here comes Instagram. And at first, my older self said, nope, I'm not going to learn that. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And then when Reels came out, I was like, nope, not going to do that. Not going to learn that. And yes, I did. It's just how we have to do. We have to evolve and stay, relevant and show up in different ways. And it is always changing, but I think we can use that instead of a stress, make it be fun. Like I get to learn something new. I get to lean into something and I always feel better when I do. So I love that you have these different tiers of service you offer. I think that's really great. And I know those listening, some of you probably want to get in touch with her. So we want to tell you about that in just a second. But before we wrap up, I do want to ask what's your big advice, Erin, that you would have for someone who's thinking about just starting a business when it comes to social media?
Yeah. So I recommend truly investing in your branding. And so this is your logo, your colors, your fonts. That's something I didn't do when I first started. I kind of just created it on Canva and called it a day. But the minute I invested in branding and hired a graphic designer, that is when I started to get more follows. And that's when I started to get attention because it seemed very professional.
Mm.
Even now, I'll tell people, yeah, I own my own business. I'm an Instagram manager. And they're like, oh, okay. I'm like, here, you can follow me. And they see my page and my website and they go, oh, like you're an actual business.
You're
Like,
legit.
yes, I
For real.
am. And so it's so good to have that cohesiveness and work with someone who is going to understand your personality. My brand designer, Kylie Bust Design, she took everything she knows about me, my girly self, and put it into a brand. And now people recognize me because of that. And so, truly, before you touch social media, get your branding and your website done. And I would say even your email list as well, so that you can start collecting those emails
Mhm.
in case something happens to social media.
Yeah, you got
That's right.
those.
Yeah, I think that's a great, point that you're making here because a lot of people think in the beginning they can't afford this.
Right.
But I kind of would argue that you can't afford not to do it. It's not something to be skipped. It's really important to have a brand image and let people know who you are. And it also legitimizes you and makes you look professional, as you said. Super important. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. One of the other things that we love to talk about is a time when you had to do something really brave in your business. So do you have something you could share with us, Erin? I also think that sharing this helps other people feel like, okay, I'm not alone in being scared to take the next step.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's when I quit my corporate job and decided to do 5 to 9 socials full time. That was something I was thinking about for months. I was terrified. I mean, when I went into my boss's office to tell her that it was time for me to take this step, I was just shaking. And so I had to be really brave. I mean,
Yeah.
I had no idea what life was going to look like without my 401k being rolled over by my company. I didn't know if I was going to be able to take this business full time. I didn't know if the money was going to come in, but I had, put aside a nest egg. And once I did that, I said, okay, I have to do this now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm never going to do it. And so I had to be really brave and just do it and know that whatever was going to happen, I was going to be okay and I was going to get to the other side of it.
Yes. Julie said before, the worst case scenario is you have to go get another job, but
Right.
you
Right.
didn't.
There will be
You were
another
able to,
job. Somebody will hire you always.
yeah.
Well, Erin, another cool thing that I know you've shared with me is that you set yourself a goal of working your full-time job and your side hustle for 2 years, right? Your goal was to be able to quit your full-time job in 2 years. But spoiler alert, she did it sooner. So tell us at what point in that journey were you able to quit your job?
Yeah, so I was able to quit my job about 10 months after starting 5 to 9, and that took a lot of work, right? This
Yeah.
this took about working 70 hours a week. I
Wow.
was working every single night after work, and I would even get up at about 4:30 in the morning and get to work early and use the monitors there to get some stuff done. And I was working on the weekends. Like, I don't want my story to seem like it was easy, and I
Right.
don't want my
Mhm.
story to sound like, "Oh, I'm an entrepreneur now, everything's fine." Like, it's
Yeah.
a lot of work, as all entrepreneurs know, and I'm so glad I did it, but I'm also so glad that point in
That's
my life
over.
is
That's
done.
right. Yeah. It's that whole thing that you have to be willing to do things that other people won't do to get it done. And it
Yeah.
sounds like you did. That's really good advice, and I know everybody listening can take it a nugget of that and apply it to their situation for sure. Okay, just a fun thing, curious, how did you come up with the name 5 to 9? Does it have like a special meaning?
Yeah. So I named my business 5 to 9 Socials because I did not think in a million years this would ever be my full time job. And so what it was supposed to be was my 5 to 9 after my
Mm,
9 to 5. So just after hours thing. And after I started 5 to 9 Socials full time, the idea of changing my LLC name made me feel sick. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm going to keep it because it means so much to me now, and it just shows me how far I've come, and so it's very, very important to me, and now it's here to stay, so
that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
This has been such good advice, and I wanted you to tell a little bit more. You mentioned it, but about your Instagram roadmap and how we can grab that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is my freebie, my lead magnet. And so you can find that on my Instagram at 5 to 9 Socials or on my website, 5 to 9 Socials.com. It'll be a pop up so you can put your email and your name in there super easily. And so what this is your roadmap to creating an Instagram bio and profile that's really going to resonate with your ideal clients and help you with engagement. We'll discuss what you should include in your username, display name, bio, and more. And this is all free. So make sure you get your hands on this resource.
That's great. We'll link that in our show notes too. So we'll have
Perfect.
that for everybody and your website and your Instagram because we all need to go check you out and see what you're doing on there.
Yay.
Well, thank you so much. I learned a lot. There's things we need to put on our to do list now, and hopefully those listening enjoyed it as well. Thank you, Erin, for being a part of our show today.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Bye, Erin.
I really like that conversation with Erin. I'm always fascinated by Instagram. When I first started, like I said, Facebook was kind of where I felt like I was in my comfort zone, and boy,
Mhm.
we've had to learn a lot about Instagram. And so I appreciate someone who loves Instagram and really has a cool story of how she stumbled on it and changed everything she was going to do with her life to do this. But my biggest takeaway, I think, and Julie, I'd love to hear yours too, but was just the consistency thing about that looks different for different people. Cause I do think I'm very like, I have to post every day and just
Yeah.
remembering that it's more about quality over quantity.
Yeah. That's a good point, and that's kind of a relief to know that you don't
Yeah.
have to be there every day, but whatever you choose as your schedule to just remain consistent at that
Yeah.
schedule so people know what to expect from you. So that's a
Yeah.
great takeaway.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that my takeaway was getting our display name right and
Mhm.
talking to our ideal client, and we need to
Yeah.
change that to what we have to offer and who it's for.
Yes.
So that is on the to-do list.
Yeah. And how that's going to help with content creation because we're going to really know who we're talking to. So I do love that.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope you guys loved it as much as we did and learned so much. Again, grab that free Instagram roadmap that Erin has created. It's really good. We're going to be grabbing that ourselves. We've linked that in the show notes. And if you like this episode, hit share, send it to a friend, share us with other people so they can hear what we have to say. We love talking to all of you and can't wait to see you again next week. And remember, brave looks good on you.
Bye, y'all. All right. One take. Look at us. We're
Yeah.
professional.
So the next Instagram tip, but I would say even just no matter, blah, blah, blah. Sorry.